to Slow Living. I'm Esther, and in this video I will show you how I flipped this old oversized knit that I got from the thrift store into a sort of cute little set. So basically I chopped off the bottom of the jumper, gave it a bit of a crop, and then turned that extra fabric into a cute pair of shorts.
This is the top that I started off with. It was $13.99 from Savers Thrift Store. It's from a Australian fast fashion chain called Sports Girl. It's in a size medium to large. So this can be a little reminder that you can always shop outside of your usual size range. You never know what you can find. Things might actually fit you, things you could flip, stuff like that. Always look in the racks for things that might not necessarily be your size. This top is a viscose cotton blend, which is what I would expect from fast fashion. It's kind of a very cheap and affordable fiber and fabric, but it does have the right kind of drape that I was looking for this project. I also chose this top because I knew that it was a very oversized style, and so I had a bit more fabric to work with. Honestly, I would probably wear this top as it is. I really like oversized, comfortable clothing, so in terms of that, it's a pretty ideal top, but I was looking to flip it and turn it into something different, just to show you guys that it is possible. I had a look on Pinterest and Instagram and all that kind of thing to look for some inspiration images. I found these cute little sets which sort of gave me an idea of what I could try and go for with this flip. So like in this image here, I'm going to aim for a little top and a short set. Once I decided on that, I sort of had to play around with the garment flat on the table just to check that I had enough fabric. So I used these pins to draw the shape around the pattern pieces of the shorts and how the top would look if I took that much fabric off. So I would recommend you would do the same if you're looking to flip something like I have. I always find it useful to draw a sketch of the garment, and that way I can see on paper if it is going to work out how I think it is. And for this particular project, the main point was how I could really get the short shape in there, because shorts require a little bit of extra fabric to go through the crotch. So in between your legs, don't forget that there is actually extra fabric that needs to go in there and not just flat front and back pieces. As you can see here, I'm going to draw in that little curve there, and that curve is the bit that goes in between your legs and forms the crotch of your pants. I also wanted to check that by doing that with this top that I wouldn't actually take off too much fabric, because I don't want the top to be too cropped, and so the more fabric I take off for the shorts, the less I obviously have left for the top. Once I have figured that out on paper, I can transfer those lines onto my actual garment. You can use pins, or if you have chalk, use that, because then obviously the lines will come out later. Now I'm going to cut off that extra little bit of ribbing trim that's on the bottom of the top. I'm actually going to reuse that later to finish the top and also the shorts. Next, I'm just going to double check that the length of the top is suitable. I don't want it to be too short. And then I'm also taking into account that little bit of extra trim that I'm going to add onto the bottom. Now I'm going to nervously start cutting. There's no way back once you begin, so just be very, very sure that you know where you want to cut and that your garment is going to, all things considered, turn out how you intended before you start to cut anything. I was quite happy with how that turned out, and so I'm going to flip that piece over to the other side and cut around it to get two pieces that make up my front and two pieces that make up my back. These are the seams we're going to sew first. This is going to be the center front crotch, and the other is the center back crotch. I didn't want to purchase any new threads, so I just picked out these ones that I had lying around, and I'm going to use my serger to do these seams. You can actually just use a straight stitch for these seams. It won't make a difference, but if you don't have a serger or an overlocker, you can also use a zigzag stitch. A little hack for when you're changing your threads is that you can simply tie them off close to where the core of the thread is, hold the tension discs away so that the threads can easily be pulled through, and then you don't have to rethread your machine every time you change your threads. The only part that you do have to rethread is the bit that goes through the needle. Obviously, if you tie a little knot, it's not going to go through the eye of the needle, so that's the bit where you have to cut and rethread it yourself. And now I'll quickly sew the front and back crotch seams. And after that, you can quickly sew up the side seams and your shorts should start to look like this. Here I just trimmed off all the little excess bits of fabric that I saw were a bit uneven on the hem of my shorts, but then I actually decided to leave the hem raw because it looked quite nice unfinished like that. If you don't like the unfinished look, you can pin it up and then sew it down using a zigzag stitch. Now going back to the top, this part I wasn't sure if I was very happy with, to be honest with you. I think I cut off this seam because I thought that since I'd cut off that curve for the shorts, that the sleeve part wouldn't really fit well, so I decided to cut it off. But then I was sort of left with this seam that went through the upper part of my arm on the top, and I'm not sure that I really like that look. From afar you can't really see it, but if I were to do this flip again, I don't think I would do this step. All that I've done here is check that both sides are even when I've cut that shoulder seam, and now I'm going to sew my sleeve back into place. So to sew a set-in sleeve, which is what this is called, you basically have your bodice part inside out and you have your sleeve the right side out. Then you put the sleeve inside your bodice, and then you can align the shoulder seam and the underarm seam so that you can sort of space out the sleeve equally and everything should fit in place. Place your pins around like I have here, and then it should be much easier to sew. And for this seam, you should use either a zigzag stitch or an overlocker or serger. And now before I finish off that bit of trim that I want to put at the bottom of the top, I wanted to make sure that I had enough for the shorts. Basically, I'm going to use that to go all around the waistband of the shorts as well as all around the hem of the jumper. Then I join the ribbing pieces and then sew it to the bottom of the top. Finishing the waistband of the shorts was a little bit more complicated because I needed 2 layers to fold over a piece of elastic. So I found some leftover fabric that I had. I cut it into long rectangular pieces, basically the same size as the ribbing pieces, and then doubled them over so that it looked like this. After giving it a good press, I then measured the elastic around my own waist, cut it to size, sewed that together, and then I was ready to attach the waistband to the pants. I mean shorts. So with my shorts the right way out, and then the waistband going around the outside of that, I can start to pin things into place. It helps to divide the waistband and also the elastic into 4 equal parts, and that means that you can align each of those markings with the front, the back, and the side seams of your shorts. You can add a few more pins in place and then sew along that edge, basically encasing that elastic inside the waistband, and your shorts should look like this. And then you can use the same process to attach that bit of ribbing trim to the hem of the top, and then your project is complete.
So I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun doing it. It turned out pretty much how I envisaged. I'm a big fan of comfy clothing, as you will see, and of neutral colorways. So if you enjoy thrift flip, sort of minimalist fashion, secondhand fashion, head over to my channel. I've got a bunch more videos, tutorials on how to flip things, how to create your own clothing from scratch. And if you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them. So feel free to comment below or head over to Instagram, where I actually don't hang out very often because I have a real love-hate relationship with that thing, and I often abandon it for months at a time for my own mental well-being. So anyway, do head over there if you like that kind of stuff, and I will do my best to help you out. I hope that you're enjoying this series. Do show me if you have a go at any of these projects. I would love to see how you're going and how your thrift flips are turning out. Hope that you're taking care of yourselves wherever you are in the world. So yeah,